Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sports Talk. I am Alex Weister, and then today we got two pretty big stories from around sports today. We have Texas and Oklahoma potentially leaving the Big 12 and moving to the SEC, and we have the New Orleans Saints having a new stadium name, which I am not too thrilled about. Okay, let's start off with Texas and Oklahoma. This was news that broke and took over the SEC's media days. It is a very, very big deal and something that is going to kind of change the landscape of the SEC moving forward. One big story that came out of this was how Texas A&M was reacting to the news. It was something that people were kind of sad to see because Texas A&M was acting quite cowardly when this news broke, saying that yes, they wanted to be the only team in Texas to be in the SEC, but it kind of seemed as if they were just scared to have two new guys who have been a little bit better than them in recent years in Oklahoma and Texas. And I think it's going to cause them to kind of move down the standings a little bit and make it harder for them, definitely, to win the conference title. And it sucks that they responded in that way, but it's something that seems like they really had no say in almost. Everybody kind of kept it hush-hush from Texas A&M, and then this news broke, and I mean, if you're a team in the SEC and you have these two big powerhouse teams joining your conference, if you're not in the know, that's going to kind of sneak up on you and punch you in the face and almost sting a little bit that they didn't tell you anything about it. Another thing that comes out of this is, what's going to happen to the Big 12? Are they going to have new teams come in from other conferences? If not, then the Big 12 is kind of useless. I mean, who's going to carry that conference? Iowa State? OSU? Texas Tech? I mean, all of them were teams that were okay, but none that are really going to hit you hard and be like, oh yeah, we're glad that this team won their conference, because they're not that big of needle movers, I guess, as you would say. I mean, Iowa State had a great year last year. OSU was middle of the pack, and Texas Tech had a down year. I think they're going to need to pull in other teams from different conferences if they want to stay relevant. I mean, it's no secret that OU and Texas carried this conference. I mean, they were 1-2. I mean, Texas was 3 last year, but they were pretty much 1-2 almost all the time. Now, taking a look at the SEC side of things, how is this going to play out for them? It definitely makes it a lot more competitive in terms of the teams that are in there. And I mean, do any of them take the crown from Bama now? People are saying Alabama's going to have a down year, but that doesn't necessarily mean Oklahoma or Texas can come in and take this conference title from them. Or Florida or Georgia, as a matter of fact. Is Texas better than Bama, Florida, or Georgia? In my opinion, no. Is OU better than some of them? Yes, I think OU could definitely beat out teams like Florida and Georgia, but it's going to be tough. And one thing that people have been saying about this move is it has a lot to deal with the NIL agreements, and I think that's true because players getting recruited to teams now have to look into, okay, which team is going to give me the biggest agreement and biggest pull in terms of fans and possibly money. And the SEC is about as good as you can get, if not the best, in my opinion. I mean, Bama, Florida, Georgia, they run headlines every single year. And if you are a player in the SEC, you're most likely going to make more money than teams in other conferences like the Big Ten and the ACC now. And this just makes SEC an even stronger conference that I think is going to be incredibly, incredibly hard to beat for any team that's playing them. Now, back on to the topic of the Big 12. In my opinion now, the Pac-12 is a better conference than the Big 12. And that may be a hot take to some people, but in my opinion, it's not. There's teams like USC and Oregon who are, in my opinion, better than Iowa State, OSU, and Texas Tech, who are probably the 3 biggest names to come out of the Big 12. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It's not for certain that OU and Texas are moving over, but people are saying it's pretty much a done deal that Texas and OU are going to do this, as it's been in talks for months now. And it's going to be interesting to see how Texas A&M responds to this. Of course, there has to be, from my understanding, a vote from the teams to see if they actually want them to come over. It seems like pretty much every team besides Texas A&M is all in for this move for Texas and Oklahoma. So it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. Now, on to the next topic. The New Orleans Saints having a new agreement with Caesars Palace to change their stadium name to the Caesars Superdome. I don't like it at all. I was a big fan of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. That is what I grew up with. That is the name I knew and loved, and it was iconic to me. Some of the best moments that I've ever had with the Saints were the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and the games that I've watched on TV and gone to. The one game that I did go to that was probably one of my better memories was at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, but that's off topic. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome is now the Caesars Superdome. The name just doesn't sound right to me. I much preferred Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And yes, I know that is the rival Atlanta Falcons stadium name as well. But it's just iconic for the Saints. And now to call it Caesar Superdome, it's bittersweet to me, and it sucks to see it go. And from what I read, it's a 20-year agreement. So unless they decide to change the name themselves, it looks like we're going to be stuck with the Caesar Superdome for the next 20 years. And I mean, it looks like we're in a new era, a new quarterback with Jameis Winston. Hopefully, I personally want him to be the starting quarterback for this team. But we're in a new era now in New Orleans. New stadium name, new quarterback. It's going to be interesting, and I just hope that it's not a bad era with Drew Brees leaving. But we can only hope for the best. And go Saints, and we'll see what happens from here. That's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching, and have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and stay tuned.